start, gentlemen? Oh, we got, first of all, we're going to do the new business. Woodford County Fire Chief Melvin Montgomery wants to speak to us about fire hydrant spacing.
Yeah, and as the chief's coming up here, I just want to tell the group, approximately a year ago and some months, as you all know, we put a fire hydrant spacing requirement into play for the first time in the community that's caught with platting typically, especially out in the county. So if someone comes in to do a plat, they have to verify that they're within 2,000 foot of a hydrant, and if not, they have to commit to putting in a hydrant. And the chief would like to make a request based on, to follow up on that spacing standard, and give you some details about some things that have been happening out in the county.
All right. If y'all don't know me, my name is Melvin Montgomery, Woodford County Fire Chief. Thanks for giving me a few minutes today. This ordinance that we got in this subdivision regulations took effect May 1st of 2024. And since May of 2024, with this being here, we've had 5 hydrants put in throughout the county. I've had to sign off on a waiver because some areas that there's been inland conveyance, there's no water line out there to supply the hydrants. So within this, when I come the first time and I asked for 1,000 feet, and the 1,000 feet comes into play with ISO insurance services for us. That what we get based off of our when we get audited, and we get calls from insurance company wants to know what the rating is for a certain area, and for Woodford County, we're a 5, which is the best, and then it's a 5X, which means well, 5. Go back to 5 means you have a fire station. You have a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet, fire station within 5 miles. That's a 5. A 5X, you have the fire station within 5 miles, but you don't have the hydrant. And then if you're outside of the 5 miles of a station and no hydrant, it's a 9. There's only a couple little bitty spots in Woodford County that we don't have a station that covers that area. Up until May of last year, there was no kind of ordinance or anything saying that anybody has to put hydrants in or anything. So every time somebody does these inland conveyances, builds, makes a small subdivision, or takes so many acres and cuts 13 acres off, and they put something in like that, it just goes against the fire department. It hurts us on trying to keep our ISO rating protection number down. The lower the number, the better insurance rating that you get for people that are in the county. So we're always trying to get more hydrants and more equipment, whatever's needed to work on our ISO rating each year. We get audited every 5 years now. It used to be anywhere from 7 to 10. Now we get audited every 5. And they come in and they check all kinds of records, your trucks with certain equipment. Then they take and they supposedly random draw addresses and run numbers to see if you can cover that area in a certain amount of time. Is there hydrants there and things like that go into play? So that's the reason tonight I come and I'm asking to change the 2,000 to 1,000 feet. That would help everybody in the county in any kind of new development that goes in, or all these inland conveyances going on. And then there's one other thing here. It says 2,000 feet from the property, and I think it's out on Payne's Mill. There was one property that done an inland conveyance where they have a hydrant that was in 2,000 feet of the property, but where they done the inland conveyance, it's on up the road, so it's not in the 2,000 feet of the conveyance. So I think I'd like to get that wording changed. Hopefully, one for the 1,000 foot, but also whatever's getting the inland conveyance portion of the property is within that 1,000 feet, not just the farm in general. Just, it has to be what's new.
So the chief's asking for, when a plat comes in here, that all properties, when you subdivide, that all properties, when there's a subdivision, have to fall within that threshold. So if you cut a piece off the east side, and there's a piece now on the west side, some corner of all properties that are divided have to meet that threshold. Right now, what we did is we just put a 2,000-foot spacing requirement into play for the first time. And when the plat comes in here, we just look at the kind of overall property, and if one edge of it's within 2,000 feet, well, that property could have another 1,000 foot of frontage. And if they cut that one lot way over here on the other side, the lot that got cut and the place they build the house is actually, 3,000 foot away. But technically, the property's touching the 2,000 because it's a big farm. And what he'd like to see is that we go to a 1,000-foot standard, and then number two, all properties are divided, that they all have to meet that threshold. Of all the properties that are cut.
And I'll give an example. One hydrant was a big help that we just got put in roughly 3 months ago on McCown's Ferry, just past Craig's Creek. On 9/1, we had a structure fire at almost the end of Craig's Creek Road, big home up on the hill, and we never run out of water. We were able to shuttle water and flow water for a good hour and a half by shuttling water. But when you come back off of Craig's Creek, and if you made a right on McCown's Ferry, about 100 yards up 3 months ago, they done some inland conveyance there, and we got a hydrant put in. So we were able just to come off of Craig's Creek to right there. And if it hadn't have been for that hydrant put in, we would have had to go down to the Laney's Ferry, go down to the old school to get water. So it's just adding more time, your shuttle time. So, the more hydrants we can get throughout the county, the better off we'll be, and helps everybody in the county, not just certain areas. It eventually will hoping to help all of Woodford County and get our 5 down to maybe a 4, and just continue to work on it year to year to keep trying to bring that number down.
And if y'all remember, some of y'all weren't on the group then, we didn't have a fire hydrant standard, so there was no requirement to put hydrants in. We looked around other counties. Some had 850 foot, some had 500 foot. 1,000 is an ISO standard, so some had 1,000. But as we got into that, we went with 2,000. The chief did come and ask for 1,000 back when we looked at that. We went with 2,000 as a baby step. We were just getting into this spacing regulation. There was maybe a planning commissioner or two that didn't think we should maybe even adopt a fire hydrant spacing. Some things have changed. So we had a good debate about it in general. But clearly there's been a success story already. We are putting hydrants in with minor plats, and if they can't make the spacing, there is still a waiver mechanism that they could utilize in extreme situations. But again, we found examples of every kind of standard. We went with 2,000 as a first attempt into our regulations, and he's asking for us to consider going to 1,000 or something. So,
all right, question. As he just described our piece of property is just an extra 1,000 feet away. Who's going to be responsible to get that hydrant put in place?
the developers have to put them
The
in.
developers have to put it in.
That's the way we do it now.
That's what I'm saying.
So
I
when you
know
come
we
in-
did on one case, yes.
Yeah, so every case. We never put them in. So that when you come into plat, and if you're not within 2,000 foot, you got 2 options.
All right.
You get no plat, or you commit to put the hydrant in, or you get the waiver. Or you get the waiver.
Question, if you're at the end of the line already, and the piece of property is being developed further, then that developer's got to go up and tap onto the main line
Whatever they got to do, get hydrant
to
in.
get a hydrant in there?
Yeah. So
If
the chief-
even if it's just one lot? So then they got to come up with a 3 or 4, what's the requirement on the hydrant? 4-inch, 3-inch,
6-inch.
6-inch on a hydrant?
and the cost of the hydrant.
Well, yeah, it's not cheap.
So, at the end of the day, people are cutting off a lot building homes, and our role is just to make sure we get the proper infrastructure to support our fire department. And
But Randall, if there's not a 6-inch line to tap into, that's when the waiver comes into play.
could come in.
Yeah, I've signed off a few waivers over the last year, and roughly a half that, Lillard's Ferry is, for example,
That's one.
there's no hydrants on that road.
Okay.
And there was 2 inland conveyances, perfect for 2 places to put hydrants in, but I think there's a 3-inch line down there. So I don't want to hold a homeowner up or you know, whatever somebody's trying to develop, because the water line's not there. And you can't ask them to run a 6-inch line from wherever, you know, it might be several miles to get that line. So we do, on the water district usually don't have an issue with signing the waiver at all. It's more on me. But I like to look at all options before we sign off saying, you know, no, it's, you know, just forget it, just we'll sign and go on. You know, if it's possible to get that hydrant, I'd like to get it, but we do sign off and let people move on with their projects.
And we talked about this when we got into the subject. We didn't get very involved in this, but a couple of the models we looked at, other communities have in lieu of options, so we put a waiver. But other communities, you know, you could build a dry hydrant, for example, if you had a pond. You could do what's called a residential mister system. It's not a sprinkler system. Mm-hmm. There's other options that if we didn't have a sufficient water flow or pipe size, that you could come in and tell a developer you have to put in a hydrant, but there's 2 plan Bs here before we have to go to the waiver. Residential misters are basically just putting something similar to a water heater, a separate tank in there, and it mists an area of your house for 8 minutes if there's a fire. So basically you can get out. It's not going to save your home, but it just saves lives. So it mists an area of fire. You don't have to have super pressure to have those. It's a pressurized tank. But those have to be planned for when you're building the house. Right. Put residential misters in. It's not a sprinkler system. And then, of course, a dry hydrant is a stand of water. It could be a swimming pool. It could be a pond, but it has to have a pipe that these guys can get water out of. So other communities have those as options. If you can't make the hydrant work, you could do a dry hydrant or a residential mister or a waiver. We just went with the waiver or put the hydrant in because we kept ours simple because it was the first time we put these regulations in our document.
With the waiver, does the planning commission sign off on it, or is it just water district chief and that's it?
Water district chief, and it's on the plat. So if the property owner can't get them to agree, he's kind of stuck.
Okay.
And we just wait on, we either see the waiver or we see the chief sign to say that we're putting in the hydrant. Typically our hydrant language is the developer or property owner agrees to put the hydrant in within 90 days and stuff we've been doing, right? Sometimes 120 days, 90 days.
Well, once they determine that everything's going through, then, South Woodford Water District, they have to order it. So then once it comes in, then there's been a time or two that there's been receiving that hydrant in, it took a little longer than expected, so, you know, we're kind of waiting on them, but they do have it to put in.
We don't record the plat until the hydrant
is in. And then also he talked about dry hydrants. I've been working on 2 locations. One was on Oregon Road for a dry hydrant, and it fell through. The pond has got a weak spot in it that looked like it could collapse, and the engineer wouldn't certify it as a pond for a dry hydrant. But I do have one going in, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, on Ford's Mill. There's a farm just before Patterson that's got a nice pond on it. They've already certified it, so I have a dry hydrant going in at that location. So
those work, right? They work for you guys, right?
I mean, all you got to do is pull up, hook to it, pull a prime, and fill a truck up and drive off. It's really quick and fast. But I got one spot there of a dry hydrant, and a lot of places sometimes they got a pond, they're just not big enough. It takes a certain amount of water. They got to be so big, so deep, and all kinds of factors go into it. But anybody, I tell everybody all the time, anybody's got a pond that we could look at that would even consider it, we'll look at it. In Frankfurt, Stephen, I can't think of his last name, but anyway, he comes out with me he's from Frankfurt Agricultural something, and brings an engineer with them, and they start doing all their surveying and take it from there. But it's considered a hydrant. It's just like a red hydrant next to the road. Even though it's back on the farm or just off the road in a pond, it's still considered a hydrant. So we can claim it on ISO as a hydrant.
So you pipe it out to the edge of the side of the road, or wherever you got convenient.
Get right to the pond if they can.
I know. I mean,
drive right up to the pond.
If you can.
It has to be a road put in. But the one that we're working on is probably the cheapest one we could ever get by with, because the blacktop road goes right beside the pond.
Gotcha.
So it's literally about 50 foot of 6-inch pipe, 90, and then a strainer goes on the end of it, and then the fire department connection sticks out of the ground right there. So, and it's like just pull right up beside it, hook up, and then they got a nice spot down around the barn to turn around and come right back out. So this one's really nice. First one to be my first one, it's gonna be an easy one. And
Yeah. So that standard's in chapter 3, I believe, and if something you all want to consider, I'd be glad to mock something up, bring it to a future advisory committee meeting. It's something you guys would have to be
So
okay
we're gonna
with.
change our, still 2,000, we're gonna go
You
to,
would change, what he's proposing is 2,000 would go to 1,000.
So, one real quick question before we get to that. Let's say on some of your larger farms, I know some of those larger farms, you may be a mile from front to back. Most of them have pretty large ponds on them and all that, but let's say we get a scenario that they don't, and they wanna build some residential in the back for work hands or whatever. And you've got a 6-inch fire hydrant at the front, but going through the back of the property, you don't. Would that be?
From my understanding,
Hydrant
on
has to be in the
farms,
right
we
of way.
can't. This just has to do with inland conveyances and somebody wanting to subdivide something. That's the only say we have.
Yeah, if you're cutting 30-acre tracts, they're exempt from us anyhow. We don't see them a lot of times.
So farms won't come into play?
Well, they could. So if someone came in and, like he said, if someone did a conveyance of 10 acres and they did it way in the back, the issue is right now the hydrants have to be placed within a reasonable distance of the right-of-way edge. So you can get to it.
If they leave the farm, let's say we have a 300-acre farm, they leave the farm intact, but they're just putting residential on the back for farmland.
Right now, we measure the 2,000 from the big edge of the farm. What he's saying is the piece that's being cut needs to meet that standard. So if it happens to be 3,000 foot back, they're probably gonna need to put one out there at the end of their drive, but whether or not we'd put one on private property every 1,000 foot back, we'd probably just do one out there at the road.
Okay, that clear.
You know, the intention's not to put hydrants,
No,
You know,
mainly everything's on.
6 of them back through a farm.
On road frontage.
We want them out there
Yeah,
at the
road frontage.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And most of the ones we see, as you know, they're typically around 400 or 500 foot back from the road. You know, the standard is to get smaller than 5, you have to be deeper than 4. So they tend to do them right around that 400 or 500 foot mark.
All right. That kind of exempts a farm, basically.
In the big farms, we don't do plats on.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't see them anyhow.
Yeah, just for example, Windstar Farm out there, they've got 2 or 3 communities on their
Exactly.
farm.
Exactly.
And we had no say that you need to put a hydrant in or anything.
There's none there.
So there's one on Big Sink and then there's one on the Paynes Mill side.
Yeah.
It looks like a little subdivision sitting there.
Yes.
And, you know, they didn't have to come through here to do anything, so, you know, we have no say in that.
Exactly. Okay.
I have a question, and it's probably a silly question, but it's been bothering me for months about waiving. Does every property have to have access to water?
Yes.
I mean, does it,
You mean potable water to serve their house or for fire?
like a
protection?
fire hydrant? Does
No.
every property have to have access to water within a certain?
No, so we have water lines all over the county by multiple different providers. And as the chief said, you have to have a certain standard to make a hydrant work. So we don't have hydrants all over the county. Typically, right now, people come in and get permits and just build. We're catching hydrants with plats coming to you all. But if right now there's existing property out there, someone can go out there and build a house, and you'd assume they have water for their house. You know, they need to have water to drink, take a shower. But as far as water for fire protection, it's not a standard we review. What we rely on is the volunteer fire department to shuttle water from the closest hydrant. If it's 2 miles away, it's 2 miles away. But you can come in and get a building permit to build a house. But clearly you're gonna have to have water and a way to septic. But for fire protection, it's not a standard we evaluate.
So does a waiver clear you all responsibility? Does it clear anybody's responsibility in any way?
Yeah, we don't have a responsibility as far as hydrants. It still belongs to the water district, the hydrants do. With this, it makes the new development put something in. And like I say, if we go south, there's a lot of lines down there that will not supply a hydrant, so they won't even put one on it. So that's where the waiver comes in.
And he may have someone that comes in to cut off a piece of property if their intention is not to build anything. It's just they're cutting off 5 acres to sell to a neighbor. So he's signed some waivers because some of the particulars, we're not building anything. We're just swapping properties around.
So you don't have a liability if you waive a fire hydrant?
No,
Okay.
because
Or the
it's,
water
yeah.
it's not,
That's-
that goes back to the water district side of it and not being able to supply it.
Yeah.
You know, and you take, and it's roughly $7,000 for a hydrant installed. So if you require somebody to put one on a 3-inch line, we could get water off of it, but it's not
Not gonna do
the
anything.
amount of water needed to be considered a hydrant, so you wasted somebody's $7,000, the way I look at it. So,
Okay.
So they evaluate the capacity of that particular area and if the water district can even serve a hydrant. And if it turns out nothing will work, then the waiver's a way that we could say, we'll allow this plat to go forward and we'll just recognize we can't get a hydrant to work in this particular area. Now, is there liability there? I don't know. You could argue having a fire hydrant spacing standard in our ordinance is a liability, but everyone around us has fire hydrant spacing requirements. We were one of the few counties that didn't.
Yeah.
And the idea is you want to go out and cut up your property and build homes, that's comes with the cost of development. Then you're going to, when appropriate, you're going to put a hydrant in to serve the region there because you're last guy in, I guess.
So, and then on our side as the fire department, since 2019, on August the 31st, we just received our third 3,000 gallon tanker. So our engines carry 1,000 and the tankers that we buy now are 3,000 gallon. So we have tankers headed to that direction regardless, just to make sure we have water. So we're trying to do our part on the fire department side to bring more water too. And then it makes a big difference when you go get a load of water, you're getting 3,000. Our older tankers, we have 2 older ones, they carry 1,800 gallon. So we went up in gallons, bigger trucks, but it's a world of difference when you're hooked up to a 3,000 gallon truck pumping water versus that 1,000 gallon. Because these trucks, the engines will pump 1,250 gallon a minute. So in less than a minute, you could dump that tank of water if you're flowing full capacity. So
I don't think a lot of people that build in the county realize that what our water situation is or our lack of hydrants as far as the network. And unfortunately, when there's a fire incident, some folks find out the hard way that they have to shuttle water. And it's hard to fight a fire when you're driving back and forth, tank at a time, trying to, a few at a time. So it's a tough situation for the fire department. So I think the goal is, if we're going to keep building out in the county, we need to put the infrastructure out there when we can.
Exactly.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
I understand.
Now, whether or not you guys want to go from 2,000 to 1,000, that's really more a decision for you all. If it's too big a jump, we understand, whatever,
So who does that directly benefit? I mean, I know probably your insurance ratings obviously benefits the homeowner.
yeah, and we just had another one put in on Cummins Ferry. We had an inland conveyance down there, and by placing this one hydrant, I was able to catch, see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 7 homes. And Cummins Ferry from 33 all the way to the river, there was one hydrant, and it's off the road up under that water tower that's down there. It's not even it's got quick accessible.
Yeah,
So that's just an example. If we were on Cummins Ferry, you're having to travel to the old Nonesuch School to get water in about any direction. Well, they had an inland conveyance. We had to put a hydrant in, and I was able to step off in that area and catch 7 homes right there that now have a fire station within a half a mile of them, but now they have the hydrant within 1,000 feet of them. So on that placement, because the line runs down through her, there's just not the hydrant. But for those people, it helps seven different people out on
It
insurance.
also benefits them.
So it benefits everybody in that area.
Monetarily
Yeah,
as well.
I bet it benefits,
They wanna do due diligence,
yeah,
if they ever have an incident.
Exactly.
probably benefits their insurance.
Benefits you all as well.
Yeah, every hydrant we get in, ISO recognizes it, because if we call and say, hey, we got another one here,
Yeah.
they write it down, they mark it, hey, they got more water, they got more water.
Well, that's why we wanted to put the chief on the agenda. He asked to come speak to you all about that. Something's been on his mind, and you guys are the advisory committee that would make a decision to direct us to make that change. And then we would take it
That's
to
in
the planning
Article,
commission.
what?
Article 3 of the
3, I think.
subregs. Yeah. So just a single paragraph. And we
Okay.
could mock something up
Yeah,
to your
I got
next
a
meeting.
copy here, if y'all want.
We'll get something
Yeah,
to him.
yeah,
And we
that's
can bring
fine.
it to your next advisory committee meeting to look at, and then if you guys like the wording, and green line it to go to the planning commission, then the planning commission would ratify.
This is for the future of any development coming about.
Anyone that plats would have, this would be the trigger point, you put a hydrant in. If you're not within. so
If you're
many
not
feet.
within the, yeah.
We've had several that were within the amount, and they didn't have to do it.
Yeah, there's
Several.
been several
Yeah.
that there happen to be.
We're just looking at it each
Right,
plat
I
now
understand,
for the
I
first time,
understand.
I mean, I guess as it goes on, you get,
You start to
hopefully
build a
less and
whole-
less of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Build a whole network eventually.
Yeah.
And then there's the waiver is always,
Well, you guys may want to look at the waiver language when it comes
Yeah.
back to you, and maybe it's something you roll out, I don't know. We just put it in there because we figured there's going to be some hardship situations, and without the waiver, it'd have been an absolute, you either meet it or no plat, and there's been some circumstances where we've signed the waiver, or the chief has. So if that's okay, you guys want me to put something together for the next advisory then?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, our next on the agenda is the tax amendment number 7. But
And let me just point out, what's at your seat right here, this little 2-page document, this is what you fixed last time. And I built in the option A and B that you guys talked about, if you recall.
Yeah.
So we were through with this section, but I don't know if you guys want to go back and, now that you see it in print, just make sure it's the way you want. Number 2, I think the way I understood it, you left it, that when we ever get this chapter done and we go to the planning commission would choose between these 2 options, or I was unclear if you guys are going to choose between the 2 options, so that when we go to the planning commission, we got one document with a proposal.
I think it was the planning commission. Planning commission
Would
was
pick
going-
between these
Yeah,
2?
we're gonna allow them to pick between the 2.
Yeah. I defer to our attorney a little bit. That might be a little problematic, because when we advertise a public hearing document in its form, I guess we can wordsmith it on the floor. We're allowed to do that, I guess. So,
I think that if we were skipping between articles that were advertised or something like that, that would be problematic.
yeah, I see. So that's where we left that. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about that, or if it's worded the way you want it, then we're ready to move on to the next section in this chapter 7.
But if you took it back, I understood you right. When this comes up for vote, this is open for the public too? I mean, or hearing?
Yeah. So if we get done with this chapter in this committee, then we get it to the planning commission, it's there for a public hearing. It's also there for the public to consume and comment on, and eventually you all take some action or tweak it or something. But at this point, when you guys are done, we go to the planning commission, and it's a full-blown public hearing on the whole text amendment. We got a lot more to go in this chapter, so it's unlikely we're going to be addressing this tonight at the planning commission unless we get through this chapter. If you've got your Article 7, we can pick up with where we left off, because we got a ton to go through. But I didn't know if there's something you guys want to discuss back on that, now that it's in print. We were handwriting stuff,
One real quick, do we have anything in there on hardship and?
Yeah, I stuck it in number 5 at the very end.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read all.
Yeah, sorry, I did not highlight that. I just highlighted the options A and B.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And, but the hardship language you all added is at the very end of item 5.
Okay.
And that looks like it leaves defining hardship up to the commission.
Or the courts, or
Okay.
attorneys, and at a closing, I don't know.
Right.
It's a good question, because, Henry, these would already be typically approved by the planning commission and would be in that hold period.
Right.
And
Yes.
you'd have a deed recorded, and then someone say, well, I need to sell my property.
Right.
Short of the 5 years. I'm not sure that's going to come back to us.
No, it wouldn't.
It becomes a plat note that I guess could be, I'm not sure who'd be making that interpretation. That's a really good point, actually. I don't know if it'd be 2 attorneys at a closing, or a judge, or something like that.
We could preempt it by putting a definition in our regs if we were so inclined, but that,
Yeah, I didn't think that once it's recorded, the plat would come back if someone wants to
Right.
undo that. It could, though.
And in number 5, I know we had a little bit of discussion last week. We do want to leave that primary parcel or that parent tract at 5 years.
I think what I heard was it was 10 and 10, and you all changed it to 5 and 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Even though that is a, what's the word I'm looking for? that parcel meets all standards because it has to be at least still 30 acres. So that's still a complying piece of property.
So you guys are making the primary parcel and the conveyed parcel be held for a certain period of time, I guess, to make sure the in-family relationship is there into some point into the future. The whole idea, the goal is to have a family member come back and build. If the other property's not held and it sells, then there's no relationship between family members, I guess. But I don't know, you guys, I thought left that at 5 and 10.
I thought we did too.
I thought we did too, and sort of a compromise because it came down from the court
At 10 and 10.
at 10.
10 and 10.
Yeah,
Correct.
for those reasons, I guess.
I just don't, if the 30 acres is compliant, why should we hold those people to 5 years to hold that piece of property before selling it? I mean, if it's a 30-acre tract, that's what we say can be sold, that's what we say we can break it down to in the new regulations. Why are we forcing those people to hold that 30 acres? And I understand what you're saying about the family, but, I mean, you still got that family connection, but you're forcing all those other tracts, whether it be 1 to 2 or 2
Correct.
to 4, whatever
Correct.
you decide on. You're forcing them to hold those properties for 10 years, regardless if that family initial 30 acres stays with the family or not.
I thought it was just 5 to start out with. I didn't realize it was up to 10.
Yeah, it was 10 for both.
It was 5 in the old rule, it's 5 now for the right convey, 0 for the parent track.
Right.
Fiscal court sent you a directive that said 10 years and 10 years.
Yeah, but I'm kind of like, that's a long time to hold a piece of property in these days and times.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what came from them. And then,
Really.
I think so too.
I mean, things change so fast. Well, we all know how things change so fast.
well, that's why we put the hardship language in, because things could change and that they're different. But I think the idea was, I mean, I'm just going backwards. Our initial proposal didn't use the word in family. It was just an exception lot. And we kept it pretty basic. The court asked you all to go back to the word in family, number 1.
I know.
And then number 2, put a hold on both ends, because without that, one part of that property is getting sold probably.
Correct. Exactly.
And so the idea is that there is a family relationship, and this is about farming, and you're conveying a piece of land so a family member can come back and farm. This isn't about building houses. This is about farming and farming families. Then if you don't put a hold on both ends, and the piece you convey is being held, but the parent piece sells the next week, how are you meeting the intent of farming or family farming without holding both?
And I guess my argument to that would be if those people are wanting to sell the 30 acres anyway, they're not going to farm that 30 acres, and you sell it to somebody that is going to farm, and you're still going to be farming it. So you've actually got a better scenario by selling it, but if you sell it to somebody that's not going to farm it, I mean, we can go back and forth.
Well, I mean, the affidavit is going forward. You're going to have to prove you're farming before you can even plat it. There has to be an ag affidavit signed that there's agricultural use occurring, or you're not even eligible to move forward. And then there has to be a family relationship that's now redefined, who's who. We're keeping the same general premise of the original proposal in the words, but, I mean, the hold came from court, and and honestly, I think right now we have the 5-year piece you hold, and the other piece doesn't get held, and clearly, maybe that is a loophole, but we know those properties are getting sold typically.
Yeah.
They do an in-family conveyance, and then they have to keep part of it, and the other part's free to sell at whatever time. And especially when we see the spouse ones, I think we understand what's probably happening with the 2 pieces of the equation a lot of times. But you guys, I think, put it however you want it. I think you guys had agreed to the 5 and 10 last I remember.
So if on this, the the parent lot or whatever, that's 30 acres, at least 30 acres, if they sold it, the buyer would have to prove agricultural use. And then
The agricultural use affidavit is a threshold to just file the plat to cut it.
oh, yeah, okay.
Moving forward, you'd hope there's still agricultural use, but there's no guarantee
So
it
they'd,
would stay.
yeah, they'd have to say that they're doing
Yeah, they do
and
that
then-
to file the plat going forward, because the whole intent of this whole in-family conveyance was to help farming.
Yeah. And then for them to convey it, they would have to prove the family relationship and,
Yeah,
And
all that
everything.
gets put in the deed, and moving forward, it just becomes a deed restriction that hopefully attorneys and other title clerks catch if there's a sale, because there's now restrictions on how this property moves forward once you all approve a subdivision of it.
I mean, I'd be fine getting rid of the 5-year. We've added more friction to the whole process, you know.
So I mean, agricultural use is as simple as cutting hay off of that 2 to 3 times a year, is that correct?
You have a beehive, flower garden,
Put a couple cows out there,
whatever.
if you can afford to buy them.
There's a state definition of what agriculture is. It's fairly lengthy, a lot of different things: orchard grasses, flowers, fruit trees, lumber, or timber, I mean, hay, cows, corn, soybeans, pigs, horses, emus, alpacas. There's a whole list.
Compromise at 2 years?
What's that?
Did we compromise at a 2-year hold on the parent tract?
Yeah, by the way, our chair's on the thing.
She wants to compromise.
Yeah, she said 2 years.
Compromise on 2.
It's kind of quiet. She mentioned 2 years from parent tract.
Yeah, she has mentioned that.
I mean, to that point, I think, yeah, the fiscal court probably wants some, you know,
They want something.
they want something.
I agree, they want something in there.
Yeah, they want something regardless what it is.
Or we
Yeah.
could be sitting here a year from now and doing this.
So you're saying compromise with it?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I'm saying the parent list, what if we put the parent tract, a hold on it of 2 years, and then left the hold as we've got it stated here on the divided off track, conveyed track.
At 10.
At 10?
I think the fiscal court wants to see the 10.
Yeah, they put 10 and 10.
I'm
Okay.
good with the 10 for
Yeah,
sure.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
I could go,
convey for sure.
right. How's that?
2 and 10.
What, say now?
Keep the 10, and then you say on the parent track 2?
Yes. I think that will at least give the fiscal court something to hang their hat on, that we're
You
at least
think?
trying to hold on to the parent track
I don't think.
to some extent, but I think 10 years is getting a little
Like 5,
excessive, and I think even possibly 5 years is excessive too. Randall made a statement in today's times, farming and agriculture and so forth. I think if we put a 2-year hold on the parent track and left the 10-year hold on the conveyed track, I think that would be sufficient. And if the court doesn't like it, they can always send it back. Just my thoughts.
There's the potential to send it back. Can we do 12 months? I mean, I just think, and I know we can sit here, we can debate, we
yeah.
can debate this
Right.
for hours and days and weeks and months. But, and this is a hypothetical situation, but if you've got a parent that is older, 70, 75, they want to convey a portion of their property to their adult child to build a home there for whatever reason, they want to sell that 30 acres, they're buying a place in Florida. I mean, like I said, I know that's very hypothetical, but if they want to do that today, they want to convey that piece of property, then they want to sell that 30 acres, put it up for sale immediately. Who are we to hold them that has bought that piece of property? Maybe it's off of a 300-acre farm and they've sold it off through the years, and this is their last ditch to do what they want to do. I just look at it like that. It's hard for me to make somebody hold that piece of property that they bought and paid for and worked for It is a piece of property that conforms to what we're asking them to conform to, but then again, we're forcing them to hold that piece of property with it being a conforming tract. That's my thoughts on this.
I know we're down in the weeds here, but, and we're right back to this in-family, but I guess, you know, when you focus on the in-family conveyance and as an exception rule, I get it, we're fine tuning it, but, you know, if you flip back to what the intent statement of the ag district is, or the comprehensive plan, this all goes back to the preservation of farmland. And the whole goal of the ag district, the reason they went to a 30 acres, to preserve farmland in this community. And then they created an exception. But the exception was based on farming and farming families. And if this is about building homes and creating lots, we're drifting far away from the intent statement here, because every time we cut off properties and they just are just sold for home building, that's not preserving farmland or farming. And I understand we're trying to figure out if farming will exist, but I guess the bigger issue here is what's happening with the not having a hold on one is clearly the properties are selling. They're coming into this form, and the properties are typically in an LLC, and they take them out of an LLC and put them in one person's name, and then they convey it to the spouse, and then one of those pieces of property gets sold to build a home. There's no farming occurring, there's no family relationship occurring. They're just cutting up. It's just an exemption to get around the 30-acre rule and cut a property into a 26 and a 4 or a 13 and a 2, and then they're building homes. So we're right back to, I don't know what the original intent was, but following that, I think that's, Chris, how this dominoed into the whole to start with.
Yeah.
Was to make sure that it just wasn't a situation where we can cut it up and then we're building homes and there's no relationship.
Yeah. And I guess with what you're saying there and your thought process on that, you know, if we can go ahead and get this thing locked down and we can get it passed, conforming tracts are 30 acres, period.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's new, because right now they don't have to be conforming.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can only do either 1 or 2, 30 to 49.
Another win in the big equation.
Yes, and we can either do 2 or 4 with the options we're setting forward on 50 or larger. So if that be the case, you're still, if we can get this locked down, get this through, we're still limiting the amount of pieces of property.
The potential could be cut.
From 30 acres, yes. So even if you own 30 right now, conforming tract, you cannot convey anything, you can now.
Yeah.
But if we get this changed, if we get this adopted.
You can convey from 15 acres and up to a maximum of 15 lots.
15 lots, exactly, yes.
So
Yeah,
this really scales it back.
yeah, yeah.
But I think the court's intention was to keep the original concept, intent, term, for example, the in-family term, to keep those in play.
And even with, let's say, 32 acres, you can convey 1 lot to a family member. I'm just going to use that as a general term instead of going through all of that. That still only gives you 1 in-family conveyance. You still got that 30-acre tract that you're holding if this gets adopted. So you can still, once this is adopted, if it gets adopted, you cannot take that 30 acres any lower.
No, it can never get smaller.
So the majority of these pieces of property that people are conveying to their children right now, and I don't know that to be a fact, but a lot of those, the parent tract already has a house on it anyway. So if that be the case, then there's not going to be any more subdivision of that 30 acres regardless moving forward.
Well, there is now.
There is now,
right.
yes, but I'm saying if we adopt what we're looking at.
Yeah. We have 2 examples tonight we'll get into tonight, but we have one where there's no house on either and they're doing in-family conveyance to sell half and build a house on the other. The other one, there's a house and there would be a conveyance to, we don't know what, maybe build a second house, maybe sell it, we're not sure. So,
Which still gives you an opportunity to do 2 lots regardless.
exactly.
I mean,
So we're back to 5 and 10?
I'd rather not go with 5 and 10. I don't care to keep the 10 on the conveyed part.
All right.
The 5 is a little hefty for me.
Go to 2 then.
I don't care to do some kind of compromise. I'm not big on it, but again, I know there has to be compromise somewhere.
I know where you're at coming to on the property when you talk about somebody, took a farm, brought it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you four, the advisory committee, our chair serves here kind of more ex officio, so you guys would have to, the four of you all would have to come up with some kind of consensus here, vote, or tell me what you want. There's four of you, so good tie, I guess. There's no way to break it if it's 2-2. But you guys need to give me direction on if you're doing 5 and 10 or 2 and 10.
I like the 5 and 10, but I want this gone. I mean, I want it.
We need to get this.
Yes, it needs to be taken care of. One way or the
we
other.
need to get it up.
Compromise, even though I say I am.
Guys tell me.
So you would be willing to compromise at the 2 as well, even though you would like to stay with the 5?
What? Well, we just go around. You're 5 and 10. You're 2 and 10.
2 and 10.
2 and 10.
So you don't have to compromise.
Hold to your principles.
There you go.
All right, that takes care of number 5.
I got 2 and 10 in here penciled in.
All right.
All right. You guys good with that page then? The rest of everything? All right. So let's keep rolling through 7. And let me just point out, if you got your big chapter 7 there, do you have one? Because we're last one we had. You go. All right.
7.
So I want to point out from pages 711 to 733, 711 to 733, you all looked at in September of 24.
Yep.
You broke apart from the whole chapter in November of 24. You did a public hearing in December of 24. You adopted this language, sent it to the fiscal court, and the only provision they punted back to you was the paragraph you just worked on. So we can go through these pages here, 711 to 733, or we could just jump to 734, which is something you haven't discussed in detail yet. So it's up to you if you want to go through all these other sections, but nothing has changed from when you looked at it in the 24, you had your public hearing.
Let's jump.
Yeah.
Let's jump ahead.
That's all the ag stuff.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah. What page are you on there?
Well, I'm not.
Okay.
But it was the new law that was passed for the manufactured homes.
It's incorporated into everything we're getting ready to get into.
That is law.
It's not law yet, so I handed that out. So it goes into effect in January.
Right.
And what's called, so there's a manufactured home definition in KRS 219. There's a manufactured definition in KRS 100, but it's a qualified manufactured home. The legislature passed a bill that qualified manufactured homes that are in KRS 100-348 cannot be discriminated against in general terms. So anywhere a stick-built home can go, you have to allow a manufactured home. So the zoning ordinance has to, that's why we're putting unit types in here, so we're real clear. Can you do a single-family dwelling? Can you do a manufactured home? Can you do a manufactured home qualified? Can you do a mobile home? These are different products. Modulars are different products. So there's 5 different products. So we're clarifying as you go through here with those little charts on what unit types are allowed where. But qualified manufactured homes cannot be discriminated against in the zoning ordinance starting January 1st. So anywhere you build a house,
Yeah,
qualified. And we set definitions of that, if you remember,
Yes.
on the housing group.
Yeah.
Those got passed into law by the legislature. So a qualified manufactured home, which we have a definition of 2, you can't discriminate against.
Okay.
Now that could be a single wide, double wide, triple wide. It could be up to 5 years old. There's a definition of what a qualified manufactured home is.
Manufactured, single wide?
They're single wide manufactured homes. Brand new, you can buy them,
Wow.
sure. The word manufactured home is a type of home, not a style of home.
Correct.
And
It's a type of home.
they're basically HUD approved.
Yeah.
And they could be double wide. Most of the ones that are bought are double wides. Some have 312 pitch roofs, some have 512 pitch roofs, some are flat roofed. But
You're exactly right. There's a
but
manufacturing
the
law
term
did
manufactured
that.
home is now
They
not.
were stacking them.
So what the law says, if you want to set standards for those type of units, for example, let's say you decided you want to say that the roofs have to be 512. Well, then you have to make that the standard for all the stick-built homes in the
Right.
community too. So what the law says is you can't discriminate, but you can put forward architectural features into the book, but they go for all units that are built, whether they be modular, stick-built, or manufactured.
Can the developer still stipulate that? It is developed.
I guess he can, because I think it's, Henry's nodding there. It's a prohibition against governments and local laws and planning commissions discriminate, but a developer could put their own covenants in play, their own restrictions in an HOA, for example, and say no manufactured homes, or everything's got to be brick, or whatever they want.
Yeah,
There's a way you could regulate them out that way, I guess.
So a developer could still do no vinyl siding, it has to all be a hardy or a brick or a.
Yeah. But the planning commission can't, and our local ordinance can't.
Got you, okay.
So that's all built into this ordinance now going forward as a spin-off of the housing task force that the city did.
Okay.
So if you're okay with that, then we'll jump to page 734.
Okay.
And you guys looked at a little bit of this. You got new members on here, but this is the directive the city sent us. I think in 24, I'm drawing a blank. I think it was in August of 24. We got a directive in what we call the city side zones to look at lot sizes, look at density, and then I did some housekeeping, clean up on some things, open up the discussion about accessory dwellings, and address the manufactured homes. So that's what you see. So when you look at 734, right in the middle of the page, there's the accessory dwelling that would open up that as an option, that you could do an accessory dwelling. Put some verbiage at the bottom of 34 and 35 about solar panels when you do them in behind your house or on your roof, kind of thing. Clean up. Couple cleanups in the conditional use, but the big to-do in R1A is at the bottom of 735, that the lot would go from a 15,000 square foot lot that's 100 foot wide to a 10,000 square foot lot that could be 80 foot wide. That's a change. But I do want to point out, if you turn the page to 736, it's very interesting. You see where it says maximum density not to exceed 4 units to the acre? That's what's in our book now, but technically a 15,000 square foot lot doesn't get the 4 units to acre. Just must have been a typo in the book. But if we go to a 10,000 square foot lot, that is 4 units to the acre. So we didn't have to change the density here because it now matches by making the lot get smaller. And again, the city's directive was to think about making lots smaller to open up opportunities for more housing in the urban service boundary. That's the whole concept. And then on 735, you see the first chart where it says the units. Can you do a single family detached? Yes. Modular? Yes. Manufactured home qualified? Yes. Regular manufactured? No. Accessory dwelling? Yes. So there'll be a chart like that in every zone going forward. That's the R1A district. You want to keep going on 730? The R, as you guys know, the R's right now are R1A, R1B, and R1C. If you look at the very next page of 737, identical, except the 10,000 square foot lot becomes an 8,000 square foot lot, which in a sense makes those 5 units to the acre. You turn the page to 1C, and the 7,500 square foot lot becomes a 5,000 square foot lot, still 60 foot wide, that becomes 8 units to the acre.
So the density goes up. Yeah.
Densities are going up across the board because the lot sizes are getting smaller. And the idea is we're in the urban service boundary, we're on sewer. If you can get 8 units to the acre. It used to be 4, then you got a chance to have 8 houses in the community as opposed to 4. There's 4 more families that have an opportunity to have a home in the community. More density equals more homes. And that is what, Chris, you were on the housing task force. I think that was the mindset. Now, does this mean it'll be an affordable house? No guarantee there, but the idea is the zoning ordinance needs to get cleaned up to allow the opportunity for more housing in the urban areas, and hopefully that housing's affordable. If the lot's smaller, it should be cheaper in theory, but
So you're putting 4 houses, plus parking.
I mean, it's not unusual. A 5,000 square foot lot is doable. It can be achieved. Chris, you know all this. I mean, typically what's built in the community is somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000, most lots under the old PUD standards, but 5,000 is not a unattainable lot. It has to be 60 foot wide, but I've seen communities do a 50 by 100 foot lot, you know, that's 5,000. Yeah. And you can build a home on that
Yeah,
pretty easily. You only need 2 parking spaces.
that's right.
So again, these are things that the Housing Task Force had, how many people are on that? 18 of us, 12 of us? Like 18. I was ex officio, Chris was actually a member of that. They put together recommendations that went to the city of Versailles, and the city of Versailles adopted a resolution to direct us to look at putting these in the book. So what do y'all think about the R1A, R1B, R1C? It puts the manufactured home into play. It puts the lot sizes changed slightly, which does equate to more density. You guys good with those pages, or?
I think I'm good with it.
Yeah.
You know, trying to visualize what kind of housing is on each
You're
side.
not gonna know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
22
Yeah.
is, we're creating lot sizes with the zoning ordinance, but what gets built, gets executed, the type of builder that comes in, it's hard for us to.
So the R1C is gonna be the single families that you have out beside the middle school.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
the high school.
Yeah, those like townhouse
Yes,
type.
I think
Yeah.
that's gonna get you close, and more of what runs up High Street on your left.
Yeah.
That's gonna put you into that 5,000 square foot,
Mm-hmm.
row house, whatever you wanna call it there. I mean, that's 7,500. Is that what we're at?
That's kind of weird.
7,500 square feet?
Yeah, and I mean, you can.
Yeah, probably. You're probably.
You know, you
There's
can
some bigger
do-
lots, but excuse me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can do
We don't have a ton of 5,000s.
yeah.
We've got smaller than 5 that were done under the PUD out in Woolridge. They're more like 3,500, 4,000, but they were done with a special rule that no longer exists. Most of our lots are probably in that 6 to 8. Everything that's currently out there that's R1B is bigger, but we have a ton of R1C that was deviated under the PUD and got them below 7,500, 7,000, 6,800, stuff like
I mean,
that.
most of what I think you're gonna see in R1B is what, 80
Still has to
wide to 100 to
Yeah.
150 feet deep?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty
That's
standard.
a good,
Yeah, and that's pretty standard
That's
for,
what it is for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do some two-story stuff on an 8,000 square foot lot.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Easy enough,
Yeah.
and still get up, 1,800, 2,000.
Most of the lots in the Legends right now are about 8,000, and we're building
Oh, yeah,
$1
those
million
are
homes.
yeah.
over
2-story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of that's PUD as well.
But they're still 8,000 square foot lots.
Yeah.
And some are 7,000 square foot lots.
Yeah, some of
You
them-
can build a big house on a 7,000 square,
Yeah.
when you go 2-story, 2.5-story,
Yeah.
for sure. Well then, with that, we'll just jump to 739. This is new. This came from the Housing Task Force. I'm sorry, it's called the Affordable Housing Task Force. What was housing affordability?
Housing affordability.
Housing
Housing affordability.
Housing
Or the
affordable, not
housing,
affordable
housing
housing.
affordability. This is a new R zone called the R1D zone. And there was a developer on that group that suggested this is a very viable product for this community and something we should look to, which would be a 3,500 square foot lot that would be 50 foot wide. And that is exactly the homes that are out there in Woolridge. Even though those are all rented, that developer owns all those, that's typically what you see out there. Those are 50 foot lots. Some are 55, by the way. But a 50 foot wide lot that's 3,500 square foot. And to be honest with you, a lot that small is probably more likely to be something affordable because it's going to be small and you're not going to put a whole lot of house on that. The other interesting part is there is no R1D currently in our community. So if you guys were to leave this section in, what's interesting is someone would have to zone to this. So it's not automatic that someone could come in and build this product. There'd have to be a zone change to R1D, and you guys know every zone change is an interesting challenge. But the idea was there's an option in the book that someone could, a pathway to a smaller lot, smaller home, in the hopes of an affordable housing opportunity. So that R1D product would be brand new across the board in this ordinance. Chris, I get that right. I mean, it came from a collective in that group that, you know, there was some debate whether we even included, but then it was added in and kind of proved to the group that it is a viable building lot at that size.
How do our comp plan land use categories speak to this? Is there something that could accommodate
We're
this
not
on-
density based, so funny
Okay.
enough, hopefully we will be in the future, but right now our comp plan is, you know, land districts are just described as contemporary neighborhood or traditional, so there'd be no hang up there. But what's interesting, again, we'd have to zone to it. If someone tried to do this type of development, and it would be compared against the comp plan and probably contemporary neighborhood, would be the threshold. And then there's policies, as you know, Henry, in there about compatibility with other developments. So you can imagine if someone came in and tried to zone R1D next to an R1A, the comp plan itself would make that a little problematic. But this is an opportunity that maybe there's a portion of town right now that's zoned industrial or commercial, and it's not being utilized well, and someone could come in and go to R1D and put some small homes in there and give some families an opportunity.
And also, if this is brought before the committee, and we're in an area that we feel like has a density already that's too heavy, or water, or sewer, or roads,
Yeah, exactly.
or whatever.
Right.
All that still has to be approved, the traffic studies requested.
Exactly.
But, yeah,
I thought it was interesting when the group looked at it, the group that we served on looked at all the vacant lots in the community, by the way. We had, do you remember 200 vacant lots?
We've got what?
I'm not talking in subdivisions, I'm talking about
No, I'm
just
talking about
scattered downtown. all
throughout
that.
town.
Several infill lots. Funny enough, if you go back and look at when the community was formed back in the day and we were a small town, we have lots this size all over town right now. They can't really be built on because you can't meet the setbacks traditionally. But this product, it really mirrors a lot of these lots we have. And the older parts of town lots were 50-foot wide.
High Street.
Homes were closer
up through
together.
there, that's-
The lots were like 3,000.
So it may help with infill.
It actually goes back to a more traditional development style that we
Yeah.
had turn of the 20th century, where
Shotgun
we
house.
built smaller lots closer to town that people walked and the houses were 10 foot apart or whatever. So funny enough, this is not really a new product. It mirrors a product we have, and it mirrors a development style from a long time ago before we became a suburban style development in the 1950s, 60s, 70s.
Anderson County is doing a lot of these, or old houses, small little lots.
Yeah, and turning
use
them into...
Like 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms,
Yeah.
and straight shots.
So I don't know, what do y'all think about this product? I mean, it's definitely a new district.
Leave it in there.
Maybe
I
have to
think
renumber
it
the
should
whole
be in
thing.
there
Leave it there.
and let the,
Let the planning commission road test it when we get to a hearing, I guess?
yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it just opens up another possibility for,
Alrighty.
Some of the land sitting there vacant, you know.
yeah.
Well, then you turn to the next page, we get into our multifamily start zones, R2, two-family. Not a ton here to tell you about. Remember, accessory dwelling, some verbiage about that, solar panels. Cleaned up the conditional uses on 741, and one about funeral homes, and we're going to talk about crematoriums a little bit. That was a directive from the city to clean up that language. A funeral home is clearly a commercial use, and this CUP on 741 allowed you to do a funeral home when you were adjoining a business zone. You could actually do it in a residential zone. That was a directive from the city to clean that up, as well as not to allow funeral homes to have accessory crematoriums in residential zones. You'd have to be in an industrial zone to do a standalone crematorium, or a funeral home with a crematorium has to get more to a commercial scale than this scale. So that's housekeeping there. The lot sizes again on 741. Currently what it said is if you're doing a single family lot, it could be 8,000. If you do a duplex lot, there's kind of a penalty provision. If you do a duplex, you in a sense had to build one of the biggest lots across our gamut of zones. This rolls down a duplex lot from 12,000 to 10. If you do a single family home, if you turn the page, now instead of saying it has to be 8,000, you just defer to the R1B standard, which is actually, by the way, 10,000.
And 10,000.
So it just makes a match. So instead of saying single family, this, you just defer to and it's going to be the same thing when you get to R3, a single family home, you follow the R1C standards. But the duplex lot gets to be a little bit smaller at 1/4 of an acre. And again, to be honest with you, there's not a ton of folks that propose building duplexes. And then if you turn to 742, again, shows you what's allowed. Manufactured home, again, a yes. Accessory dwelling, no, because it's manufactured district. Regular manufactured homes, a no. Modular, single family, or duplex, twin home are all yeses. And that's the R2. Next page, we're on R3. Very similar, if you guys turn the page to 744, the lot size did not change. It's 6,000 right now for R3 and R4. What did change was we had the setbacks based on story heights. They just went to flat setbacks on this. And just made the setbacks 20, 10, rears 20. Building heights could be 3 stories or 48. R3, as you all know, some can be 3 stories. The big domino here is in the density. The group and the city commission are proposing to double the density of R3 from 8 units to the acre to 16 units to the acre. So they're proposing a density doubling in this district.
48.
And you could be 3 stories, which you can do now. But the density is limited to 8 units per acre in the R3 currently. I want to point out top of the page, I missed that. We added a few CUPs. One of the other directives we got from the city a long time ago is we have the word under I, we have the word rehabilitation home. You guys can call it drug and alcohol rehab, whatever term you want to use, transitional living, transitional home, but we have the term rehabilitation home in our definitions, yet we don't have a single zone where we allow it. And we got a directive from the city that we need to consider allowing in our community. And I know it's not popular when you talk about drug and alcohol rehab, but there should be a place these things can go. And the R3 makes sense, it's a multifamily zone, but you'd have to do a conditional use permit. We put the terms rehabilitation home, a residential care facility, which is in the KRS 100, or a group living facility, which could be a lot of different things, juvenile detention, just those type of different non-traditional living situations would be permitted in the R3 with a conditional use permit. And it mirrors, that same language is mirrored in R4 also. And that was one of the earlier directives we got from the city to address the rehabilitation home situation. Currently, I guess we kind of consider them medical, but there are transition homes and sober living facilities where there's not actually medical treatment. So right now, if you had a facility, you pretty much can only go in the P1 zone or office zone. But if you were a sober living facility or a transition home or a rehabilitation home, which we have a definition, there's no place we allow those across the gamut of the zoning ordinance. So that would be new. And with that, we get to R4 on page 746, 747. R4 is our most intense multifamily. Again, 746, getting away from building height setbacks to just flat setbacks. 747 is something new. One of the things the committee decided that our R4 property is in short supply, and where we have R4, it should be used for the highest density multifamily. And they actually, in this proposal, prohibited single-family homes, modular homes, manufactured. So the only thing you can do in R4 is truly multifamily. The other zones, as you guys know, as a model, you got single-family, and then in R2, you can do single-family or R2. And in R3, you can do R1, R2, or R3. It's a pyramid style. R4, with this proposal, would not allow single-family homes. It would just be strictly reserved for multifamily. Additionally, on 746, the density is doubled from 16 units to 32 units.
So what's an example right now of what we've got in the community in R3? with a max density we probably don't have anything here with a max density of 16 right now, do we?
No, because the rule's
Because the
8.
max was 8.
The rule's 8.
So is there something that we have in the community right now that would give us an example of what would be an 8?
You'd have to look at something that's, I mean, there's apartments around town, but several were done with PUDs, so they're different densities. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other apartment complexes around town that were done as R3. As you know, there's not been a ton of new apartments built in the last few years.
Macy Boulevard, maybe?
Macy?
I mean, Woolridge is the most current new apartments, but those were done under PUD. They're more R4 standard.
What's PUD?
Planned unit development. We used to allow, that lets you deviate from the rules in the city, remove that from the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
So developers could come in and propose a zone and do PUD and let them deviate the
think-
standards.
I got you.
So you'd come in and do R3 and it'd really maybe look like R4, for
Yeah.
example. So yeah, I don't have examples.
2, 3, 4.
And I don't have examples of 32 units to the acre either, or anything like that. These would be new.
The one was, at one time would have been over on the, past, the nurse, the nurse.
Daisy Hill.
Daisy Hill, that we
We
put,
approved.
proved that was several years.
96 units
Yeah,
on that, but
96.
those were 8 units to the acre.
When they were on 8 units per building?
I think there were 24 plexes, 3 of them.
I saw,
Or
it
4 of
was
them.
three buildings there, I think.
I think there were going to be 24 units apiece, but the density still had to be 8 units to the acre. Properties is however big, you know.
I got you, okay.
I don't know how big the property is. But 8 units to the acre is the R3 standard. If you were doing townhomes, you could do 11 units to the acre. But if you did apartments, they were limited to 8 units to the acre. So they're going to just a flat 16 units in R3, 32 in R4. Again, that's pretty new stuff for the community, but it's not out of line across the state. I mean, our numbers are probably kind of low density-wise, but most communities, 16 units to acre is pretty normal for R3. And then R4s are all over the map. Some towns are 24, 32, 48.
We don't need that in Woodford County.
Yeah, but they're proposing 32. And again, we don't have a ton of R4 out there anyhow, as you all know.
No.
So if someone, and that's what's interesting, if someone came into zone property to R4, they might propose, the number might be 32, but they might come here and do 20 units to the acre because of neighborhood opposition, or you guys might impose a standard because of the parking or drainage that rolls it below that. This just puts, that's
That's
just
the
the cap.
max. Yeah.
But there are some R4 footprints out there, but not a ton in the community. That's why the group thought about restricting the single family. They didn't think someone coming in and building a single family home is the best use of an R4 property. But on the flip side of that, as Chris knows, we have a lot of those vacant lots in the city that are actually R4, that there's no way they could ever be apartment. And by taking out the single family option, you lose an opportunity to put a single family home on those small. But I guess what would have to happen is you'd have to downzone it back to
Bouncing it
R3.
down.
And then you could do a single family
The
home.
more units you got, the more parking you gotta have. You gotta have the land facilities.
Gotta have 2 parking spaces.
That's right.
Per unit. So I don't know what you got, so that gets you guys through all this, we're getting ready to get into the commercial stuff. What do y'all think about all that? I mean, heartburn on anything, changes you want to propose, or, I mean, this is what this group's for, just,
Let it fly, see what happens.
you guys
Yeah, I
all
mean,
agree on all that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, you
I'm just trying to wrap my head around the 16 and the 32.
you were
Yeah.
on the committee with me for a year. You're on it for a whole year.
John, I feel like a lot of that stuff, nothing with us in here was just kind of, it went through quick.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so.
And the group was just kind of tossing ideas out
Yes,
there,
exactly,
And
yeah.
I was the scribe and was just told, fix the ordinance. So they were changing things. At one point, they proposed 48 units to acre, I think, wasn't it?
There was a lot, and I know, like I said, there
And then they
was
agreed to 32.
These are pretty.
some folks on the committee.
32 is just the limit, right? It doesn't have to be that.
Right, yeah, we can scale it back.
The 16 either?
No, those are maximums.
Those are maxed.
Okay.
And it's going to be, so for example, that's per acre. So if you came in and had 3/4 of an acre, obviously you're not getting 16, you're getting 75% of that.
5 stories.
Yeah.
That's like the
You
UK,
can only
those
do 3
dorms.
stories in R3.
Yeah.
but,
Those new
yeah.
dorms over there?
Yeah.
And to go up above that 4th story, some ADA issues come into play and all those
Yeah.
kind of things.
You got a lot of more issues there.
I don't know if we truly have any R4 style apartments in this community or not that are 4+ stories, do we? I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't think we do. Yeah, so I don't know. Well, we're doing pretty good, actually. The next pages, I'm not gonna go through this, but I'm gonna tell you where they range from. From 748 to 755 is what we call our manufactured home, or it's called the mobile home
Mobile, that's what it
district.
says, yeah.
There's no such thing, under the state law now, there's a manufactured home, there's still a mobile home.
Yep.
And these old parks that we call mobile home parks, they're still out there. But the technical term in the state law is a mobile or manufactured home park. They can be either. So you could have a mobile home park and they're governed by the health department, and those units as they deteriorate can be brought out and newer ones brought in, or newer mobile homes if you can find one. There's probably not one you can find, but sometimes single wide manufactured homes go back in them. But we have a district where if someone was going to build a brand new, what you call mobile home park, very unlikely someone's going to come here and build a new mobile home park. So what we did was clean up the language for what it is. We've got I don't even know how many mobile home parks we have in the community.
I can only count of 2 right now. Is it
3?
3?
One over,
And they're grandfathered in, and
You
what
got the
these
one down
rules
on
are.
60,
yeah.
and the one,
And
Oh.
there's 2 on Tyrone.
oh, is there 2 on Town Road? I thought there was only one
They're
back.
separate.
Oh, okay.
So these would be rules if someone ever wanted to build a new one. It's very unlikely. But it just sets the standards for frontage and the park streets and the health department's requirement, having water, having sewer. There was a lot of language in this chapter which was odd about temporary mobile homes on farms and to be used as construction units. And that's not really what a mobile home park is. It's weird. If you guys look at the stuff we struck out on 754, all of that has nothing to do with a mobile home park, by the way. But it was temporary uses of mobile homes, which talked about the Board of Adjustments and farms and construction trailers. We cover all that either in the ag zone now or under our temporary use provision. So, and then there's funny enough, on 754, there's the paragraph we need about our non-conforming mobile home parks. They're there and they'll stay there as long as they need to. But if someone came in to build a new one, we've streamlined this chapter on down on what one would look like or could look like if there was such a thing. We would never want to see one go out on a package plant or septic, so they would always have to have sewer. Obviously, someone would have to zone to one here in this community. You can imagine what kind of zone change hearing that would be to zone to a mobile home park
Yeah.
in the center
Fun.
of Versailles somewhere. So thinking R4 zoning would be tough. I can imagine a new one. So it's a cleanup chapter for the future. It's probably not something we're ever going to see.
We hope.
You guys good? Then we're to 756. And this is our office zone. And this is one we were asked to clean up for several reasons. We call it the P1 zone, professional office. Getting some terms correct. Just right off the bat, as we get in these commercial zones, we're going to see a lot of terms that are out of date. Like in number A, it said administrative executive and editorial office. I'm not sure what editorial office, but I think there was one